One.
All right, rookies, welcome to week 8. Boy, I had a terrible week with my premium picks going 1-5, lost a free pick, 11-4 straight up. If you check those out, the free pick missed by a hook, so that's a tough one. Overall, through week 7, premium picks are 27, 15, and 3. Jeff, how was your week 7?
Week seven was good. My free pick didn't hit, but overall, straight up, I was 13-2 against the spread, 11-4. So for the year, I'm 56.9% against the spread.
Nice. Rookies, we are up on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and we're putting up short content. So check us out. You can get our free picks at rookiesbeatbookies.com. And sometimes we give out our premium picks as a gift. Email us and sign up for the entire season for just $150. So, Jeff, what were your key betting takeaways from week 7?
Well, as the injuries continue to mount, it's getting a little bit more difficult to figure out who's going to have the edge in some of these. But in general, I mean, my stats for the last 4 weeks have been 65 to 75% consistently. So I think right now I'm going to stick with just my numbers, and I'm not going to worry too much about these changes in anything other than a quarterback.
Yeah, well, injuries. So my key takeaways are injuries are mounting at that quarterback position in the league right now. And I expect a few more after what happened in that KC game with the 49ers. I don't think that, given the play and then given how Mahomes trucked that safety in the end zone, I don't think defensive players are gonna lay up anymore. I think they're gonna risk the penalty because, you know, if you're gonna be able to fake it like that and then, keep scoring, then they're gonna knock you out on the sidelines. And that's what I see coming, Jeff. And I don't know how that's gonna play out, but I think every quarterback in the league should probably get the ball out quicker next week. The next couple are the KC defense is for real. And the Ravens rushing attack is also for real. They are both fantastic. I'm really concerned about how far the Jets are going to go down. I don't know that they can turn it around this season. And, several coaches still remain on the hot seat. So, which ones are going to follow Salah to an early exit? And then what does that do for the team? So, I think that's my key takeaways, Jeff. So we did have a terrible week for injuries. And I actually think the future of this season for a couple of these clubs is on the line. The 49ers lost their offensive star, Brandon Ayuk, suffering a season ending ACL. Two significant injuries in Tampa Bay with Evans and then Godwin getting carted off after dislocating his ankle. Godwin's going to have surgery, and that's going to end his season. Orlando Brown, left tackle, suffered a calf injury for the Ravens. So really take a look at that, considering how well they're running the football. The Browns lost, two quarterbacks, Watson with the ruptured Achilles, and then they lost their backup, Dorian Thompson, with a finger. I just don't know about that Browns team if they're even going to show up, given what happened. Jameis Winston looks to be the starter. The Colts lost another member of their front seven with Jalen Charles to a calf. He's a linebacker, and that group, that front seven group, has really lost a lot this season. So you got to keep that in mind. Smith Schuster with a hammy. And then they lost their cornerback Watson with a fractured ankle. That's going to be a consideration on the defense. Obviously, they brought in D Hopkins from the Tennessee Titans, as they're just been decimated at the receiver position. Another one to think about is O'Connell with a fractured thumb for the Raiders. Huntley for the Dolphins. Looks like Tua is going to go. Right guard for the Pats, and Robinson is he's got an ankle. He's really beat up. So if he can't go, that Pats rushing attack's going to be even worse. Metcalf is week to week with MCL, and finally, I think the biggest injury of the week was Daniels going down for the Commanders with that rib injury, and he's going to be week to week. Looks like Mariota's going to get the start. Jeff, I mean, it just seems like every week we're adding more stars to this, but what's the impact here with this rash of injuries this week?
Well, my norm is either quarterback or multiples in a grouping. So Tampa Bay definitely losing. There's two starting receivers is a big multiple in one position group. So that's going to be big. Daniels is really big. Mariota came in and played super, but it wasn't against great competition. So I'm not going to assume he's going to stick to that same level of play when he plays better competition, especially a really good defense like Chicago. So I think that has a big impact. And then for Baltimore, I still think they probably got the inside track in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl. Running and Jackson even throwing the ball this year is stepped it up another notch. So I think he's an MVP candidate, and Derrick Henry is just really pushing them over the top.
Yeah, my MVP candidate with Baker is I think that's not going to go. I think he had a great run early on, but as you said, Jeff, losing those two wide receivers in that grouping is going to be tough. Hey, looking at bye weeks, we got the Cowboys and the Bears coming off a bye week. No bye teams in week 8, obviously. Just a reminder, since 2003, teams off a bye are 254 and 228, 52.7% overall. But favorites are 148 and 103 at 59%. Since 2020, win loss, Dallas is 3-1, Bears 1-3, ATS Dallas is 3-1, Chicago 2-2. And when it comes to points, the Bears tend to toward the under at 1-3, while the Cowboys tend to go over in that game after a bye at 3-1. Any thoughts on the bye week returnees, the Bears and the Cowboys, week 7, Jeff?
This is where I start seeing a little bit of benefit for the bye teams. One, Chicago had a little extra time to work on the Washington offense, which is under Cliff Kingsbury a little different for teams this year. So I think he's been able to, catch some people by surprise. So the bye week should help Chicago. And as far as Dallas, they really needed to get a little healthier on defense, which they weren't able to. But I do think, like last year, when they totally revamped their offense on the bye week, I think they'll come out with a little better offensive game plan.
Good thoughts for the Bears and the Cowboys making those adjustments. Hey, Thursday night, which is tonight, if you get this in time, the Vikings travel to LA coming off that tough loss to the Lions at home. Favored by 3 on the road with the over-under at 48. Looks like Kupp is a go, but Puka remains on IR. Issues on both sides of the ball. Since 2020, LA is 6-3. ATS is home dogs. But Minnesota is 8-3 as away favorites. I like LA here, though. It seems like a tough spot for the Vikings. I like them on short rest to cover and to win the game, and I would lean to the under. Jeff, who gets it done tonight?
Well, I am going Minnesota. I think after the very tough loss to Detroit last week, they did show a lot, and they just had, I think, the main difference was quarterback play last week. And I'm a little surprised at the public shopping of Cooper Kupp on the trade market, and I don't know how that impacts him or the team this week to know that they were kind of in a sell-off mode. So I'm going to go Minnesota this week.
All right. Next up, Eagles go on the road, take on the Bengals. Cincy favored by 2.5. The over-under is 47 and a hook. Expect that total to drop if it hasn't already dropped. The Eagles ran well last week against the Giants, and the Bengals team is not great against the run, allowing 136 a game. The Eagles are 10th best passing D, so expect the Bengals to struggle a bit here. I like the Eagles to cover this spread on the road and would lean to the under, but I'm going to go with the Bengals to win it in a close one. Jeff, which quarterback thrives here?
Well, the better quarterback definitely is with Cincinnati, and normally that's in a close game, that's where I'm going to lean as the better quarterback. But my numbers are just big enough in Philly's favor. I'm going to stick with Philly to win this one and cover. But I do think that Burrow has a good game.
Next up, you got the high flying offense traveling to the Ravens offense traveling to Cleveland to take on a team that lost their franchise quarterback, and the fans really disrespected him and really the entire organization. So I'm not really sure how this team's going to respond to that. Ravens are favored by 9. The over/under is a 44 and a hook. Feels like this is a letdown spot for Baltimore. This is a rivalry, but with Winston getting the nod and Chubb, back feels like a little bit of a limited offense with heavy run and short inside throws to the tight end and backs. I like the Ravens here, but I'm not putting up any money. The issue with the total is the Ravens run the ball kind of like they throw the ball, right? So, I mean, they run the ball in chunk plays. And so it's almost when they run the ball, it's kind of like throwing the ball downfield sometimes for 10, 12 yards. And they're 6-1 to the over, and Cleveland is 2-5, both losses by big numbers, which, you know, the two that they went over were big loss numbers, and this game could really, get out of hand, I think. I'm just staying away. I like the Ravens to win. Jeff, is there any value here?
So Baltimore to win, maybe it's part of a parlay would be, some value, but the Cleveland reaction to last week is difficult to gauge. I think Jameis Winston, under normal circumstances, would probably provide a spark. I think he's actually would be the better choice over Watson this year. I thought they should have gone to him earlier. But yeah, I don't know how they respond. So I'm going to go Baltimore to win. I think Cleveland covers though, but I'm not feeling strongly about it. So probably not betting on this one.
Yeah, tough to lay money on that team after that reaction. Next up, the 1-5 Titans travel to take on the 5-1 Lions. Lions are favored by 11. The over/under is 45 and a hook. They lost D Hopkins in a trade, and it looks like Mason Rudolph might get some action for the injured Levis at quarterback. Levis's QBR is 27.5, so he is not producing at the position despite the weapons on offense. Probably why they got rid of Hopkins. They see it as a rebuilding year. I like the over here, believe it or not, with Rudolph potentially a quarterback. I see at least 3 scores, and I expect 7 scores from the Lions. Not sure the Titans can stop the run or pass. And this one is one of those weeks that I think they're just going to show up and show out. Jeff, can the Titans keep it close?
I don't see it. I really think Detroit right now, especially with the personality of their coach, doesn't want to let up. He's trying to guard against that letdown game. So I think they'll continue to stay motivated. They're playing it at home and they're far superior team wise. So I think they win and cover the spread, even though it's a large spread.
Yeah, it's 11 points is tough. That's 3 scores. But I think they can get it done too. Tua is back in action. The Dolphins are favored by 3 against the Cards with the over/under set at 47. Arizona is 12-9 ATS in non-conference games since 2020 and 2-0 this season. Miami's a bit behind that. The Cards since 2020. Tough one to evaluate given the offensive woes by the Dolphins. Books are assuming scoring here for the Dolphins with Tua's return, so money is flowing in on the Cards though, and I'm going opposite. I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win here and go under. Where are you going, Jeff?
Well, this is not a strong feeling because I don't know how Tua is going to come back, but I think Arizona is going to win this game and cover. Tua is going to be a little rusty, and they do have some other injuries besides just Tua that has really made this offense a little sluggish. I think it's going to take a little time for them to get all of their timing back and everything. So the first week back, I'm thinking it's still going to be a little sluggish.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here, and I like the under actually. Next up, the Jets travel New England and are road favorites by 7. The over/under is 41 and a hook. Not much to analyze here. I'm not spending my money here. I lean to New York to win it. I would lean over given but the offensive line issues for the Pats trying to run the ball may mean they're going to pass more. So I'm going to stay away even from that. Jeff, any value here in this game?
Well, it'll depend on how Devontae Adams incorporates himself into the offense in week 2. He also evidently did some sort of big speech to the team to try and motivate them. But I think he'll improve. I think Rodgers and him will have a better connection this week. So I do see them scoring a little bit more than they have in the past. And New England is just really pretty bad on offense. So I'm going to go New York to win and cover.
Yeah, the beat up Bucks host the Falcons and are 2.5 home dogs. Over unders 46. Tampa is 10-6 ATS with rest disadvantage. Atlanta is 6-3 with the rest advantage in that same time frame. The Bucks are just 3-8 to the over as a home dog, and given the injuries, not sure they can really have many scoring options. And they're going to run the ball a lot, which Atlanta has a tough time stopping. So I feel like this thing's going to the clock's just going to tick away. So my free pick, despite that running effort, is I think this thing's going to go way over the 46 total here. I think the books got it wrong. I think Atlanta can be ran on. I think there are going to be big chunk plays, and I think Atlanta is going to score, at will on the Bucks, similar to what the Ravens did. So for my free pick, take over 46 Atlanta versus the Bucks. Jeff, can Tampa bounce back after that tough loss on Monday night?
Well, this is one of my, as I mentioned earlier, I do look at injury groupings. And with the wide receiver injuries, I don't think so. All my numbers would have leaned towards Tampa Bay, but only by about a field goal. And I think 2 wide receiver injuries take at least a field goal away. So I'm going to go Atlanta to win and cover here.
Okay. Next up, the Packers go on the road. And after that tough win against the Texans, favored by 4.5 with the over-under set at 50. After really the Jags had back-to-back games in London. It's a tough sandwich play as the Pack play the Lions, then the Bears, then the 49ers after this week. After that kind of big win they had against the Texans. I like the Jags to cover here after that big win. I like the Pack to win it, but expect this close. And I'd go under 50 with potential weather in Jacksonville at game time. Jeff, who do you like in Florida this week?
So I definitely like Green Bay to win. The numbers slightly favor Green Bay to cover as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. I think Jacksonville had a little bit of a reprieve, maybe just getting to come together in their 2-week weekend stay in London. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to save Doug Peterson's job. I just don't think he's got that team behind him. So I'm going to go ahead and say Green Bay wins and covers.
All right. Next up, a game I'm staying away from. Chargers hosting the Saints, favored by 7.5, maybe 8 now, depending on the book. Over under set at 40. I lean to the Chargers to win and under the total. Jeff, any value here on this game? Do you like it?
I do like this game. This is my free pick. So I think Chargers have my biggest numeric value this week to win. So that would be my free pick anyway. But I definitely think playing on the road against a good defense that your backup quarterback is going to struggle. And New Orleans is so beat up. I don't think they're going to be able to handle the running game of the Chargers either. So I expect LA to win big here. So I'm going to go free pick Chargers to win and cover.
All right. You heard it, rookies. Free pick on the Chargers for Jeff. Next up, Broncos host the Panthers, favored by 8.5. I think the number's at 10 now. That was the line as of I think Wednesday when I did the script. Over under 43 and a hook. Another pass for me. I do know that Bryce Young's going to be back at quarterback under center for the Panthers, but I lean to Denver to win here. But that's
So from my side, it looks like your video froze, video and audio froze. So just in case we are still able to be recorded. So on this game, I definitely think Denver is the defense is just going to be too tough for Carolina. So I certainly see Denver winning this game. I think Bryce Young, after sitting a few weeks, might have a significant improvement and a little bit of extra motivation. So I'm going to go Denver to win this game and Carolina to cover. And then I'm going to pause our recording so that we can get Jamie back online. One.
All right, next up, we got the Houston host the Colts, favored by 6. The over-under's set at 46. The Texans are an under machine this year. I think they've gone over like 1 or 2 times, and that was barely. Texans are also beat up on deep with 4 players coming out of week 7 with injuries. The weak and strong side backers, as well as the 2 safeties. 6 points in a division game is way too many for me. Even with Taylor, if he's out, and I'm not certain he is going to be a go or not, but even if he's out, I think 6 is too much. But I'm staying away, and I would lean to the under here. With Texan winning this one pretty close. Jeff, can the Texans bounce back after that loss?
So they have definitely been a disappointing team this year. I thought they were ready to take the next step and that probably still a year away from what I can see. I think they win this game, but they're just so underwhelming offensively and injured defensively. I'm going to say Indy covers the spread here. So Houston to win, Indy to cover.
Yeah, I like that cover, Jeff. And I like the under a lot. They just can't get over the total. Hey, next
Mhm.
up, Chiefs travel to Las Vegas and are favored by 10. Over under is 41 and a hook. They got D Hopkins, but they got a rash injuries on that offense. And wow, they're gonna have to integrate him in the middle of a week. So I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. But the Raiders are a mess here. And KC is rolling, but 10 points just seems too many again for another division game. I like the under here, and I lean to the Raiders to cover with Minshew fighting for his NFL life. And I like the Chiefs to win straight up, but I'm not putting any money here, Jeff. You see any value here?
So this was one of my like third biggest number that I had to bet the Raiders to cover. So I do think Kansas City wins, but they do have injuries, and I don't think Hopkins is going to come in and make an immediate impact. And the Raiders have always frustrated Kansas City. Historically, Crosby just gets in his head, knocks him around a little bit. And as a matter of fact, their coach Pierce has said that they like to employ the Jordan rules on Mahomes and try and hit him as often as you can. So I think it's going to be a little dirtier than what you normally would see. So I think Kansas City wins, but the Raiders keep it close enough.
Yeah, I like that. And that kind of fits. And we didn't even talk about it, but that kind of fits my thoughts after that. Those couple plays against 49ers. I think the Raiders are. I think if they get them on the sideline, they're going to put him in the bleachers. If they can, they might not be able to though, because he's that elusive. Hey, next up, and I think this is the game of the week. You got the Bears traveling to Washington. They're favored by minus point and a half. With the over under set at 43 and a hook. Daniels looks to be out, but that doesn't mean the team loses at home to a rookie quarterback. I like Washington a lot here. Matchup between these two since 2016 is 2-2. The Bears D is 8th in the league versus the pass, so expect Washington to run the ball, and they can run the ball. That's the thing. With Mariota can run the football as well as Daniels, but they got Robinson, and they got actually a plethora of backs that can actually get downfield pretty easily against this Bears defense, I think. And I think what that's going to do is that's going to move this total under the points. Now, if Daniel plays, I might go over, but I think he's not going to play. And I expect the Quinn defense to kind of tee off against this rookie. So I'm going to go with Washington to win at home with the points. And I kind of, if Daniels plays, I'd go over. If he doesn't play, I think I'd play it under, but I probably won't play it either way. Jeff, can the Bears win one on the road?
Without Daniels, maybe. So my numbers definitely go for Washington. But without Daniels and given a week to prepare for Mariota, well, actually the week off to prepare for the whole Washington offensive scheme, plus a backup quarterback, I think Chicago is going to keep this much closer than I expected. So I'm holding off. I'm going to wait until Saturday probably to see the injury report, who's playing before I bet. Numbers still lean to Washington right now, but I think this is going to be pretty close.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be in Washington's shoes losing Daniels. And you have a good backup, but that's a pretty good Bears defense. So yeah, it might be prudent to stay away this week. Hey, next up, Dallas coming off a bye travels to San Francisco for Sunday night game. 49ers are favored by 4.5, depending on the book, with the over under at 46 and a hook. Injuries on the offensive side of the ball continue to hurt San Francisco. And without Ayuk, they're going to continue to struggle throwing the ball despite Dallas' defensive injuries. The Cowboys are very good coming off a bye, and I think that continues. ATS 4.5, 4 to 4.5 is too many for the struggling 49ers team, despite the Dallas's woes. I even could see the Cowboys getting a win here on the road. So I don't know about the 49ers, Jeff. They may not be able to right this ship. Jeff, do you think the 49ers can right the ship?
So with Dallas, I don't really know if San Fran has to throw the ball at all. They're just so bad against the run, especially the Shanahan tree, offensive coordinating multiple sets running game. So I think San Fran runs the heck out of it, probably does a lot of multi tight end and then crossing routes. So I think they'll still be able to control the ball. But after a bye, Dallas typically does well. They've changed their offense up just enough. So they'll probably keep this close. I'm going San Fran to win. I jumped on the 5.5 point spread earlier in the week, but I'd still at 4. It's right at the edge of where I'd take it. If it goes lower than 4, I'm probably saying San Fran to cover.
Yep. All right. Next up, you got the Steelers hosting the Giants after that terrible loss to Philly, and basically Saquon Barkley running wild on the New York defense. And you had Wilson come back and really spark the Steelers and just played fantastically. And I see that continuing. The spread here is -6 for Pittsburgh. The over under set at 36 and a hook. I think the Giants score at least twice, and I think, quite frankly, it's very easy that the Steelers could put up 28 to 32, 31 points. So I see this one getting over. Jeff, who gets it done on Monday night?
Well, Daniel Jones has not thrown a pass at home, so since he signed a contract last year, so it's good that they're on the road. That does help. But he's been pretty bad on the road too. So I don't see them scoring very much. You're talking 10 to 14 points max. And man, Tomlinson's just done a fantastic job. A team I thought might go under 500 is doing really well. He's just the class coach out there right now. So yeah, I think they win this game. I think they cover.
All right. Well, rookies, there you have it. We got 2 free picks this week. You've got the over on the Bucks and the Falcons at 46. And Jeff, your free pick?
The Chargers over the Saints.
Chargers over the Saints minus that 7.5. Jeff doesn't care. He thinks it's going to get out of hand. So now we're going to go to our straight up segment. Jeff, I got the Rams over the Vikings in a surprise one. I'm going with an upset. Who do you got?
I'm sticking with Minnesota. I think they're pretty tough.
Yep, I got the Bengals over the Eagles.
I've got Philly.
All right, there's two against two that were not in sync. I got the Ravens finishing off the Browns.
Easily, definitely.
I got the Lions over the Titans.
Another easy one, Detroit.
I got Dolphins over the Cardinals at home.
So I've got Arizona, so that's our third.
Yep, I got Jets taking care of the Pats on the road.
Yeah, I've got the Jets.
I got the Falcons taking care of the Bucks.
So that one was one that I think the injuries played into. I overrode my points, and I went with Atlanta as well.
I got the Packers over the Jags, but I like the Jags with the points, but I got them to win the pack.
I've got Green Bay.
I got the Texans over the Colts,
Same,
Chargers over the Saints,
same,
Bills over the Seahawks,
same.
Broncos over the Panthers.
I've got Denver as well.
I got Chiefs over the Raiders.
Same here.
I got Commanders over the Bears.
It's one I'm going to hold off on to bet, but I'm right now going with Washington.
I got the 49ers to win over the Cowboys, but I like the Cowboys on the spread.
Same here. Both
And
sides.
I like the Steelers to win and cover against the Giants.
Yeah, same here. I don't think New York's going to score much.
All right, rookies, there you go. We will see you next week. Jeff, give you the last word.
Well, I think we've got just a couple of contenders in each conference at this point. So I'm trying to figure out the logo colors to see where Baltimore, Kansas City, and Detroit fit into all this, because those are the only three I really see as legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
You don't like Minnesota?
I don't like Minnesota because they don't have a good enough quarterback. I have heard some thoughts about them maybe trying to get a Stafford or something if the Rams sell off, which might help. But no, I think Green Bay and Minnesota lag behind Detroit, especially if Detroit makes one of the moves that they're talking about for a defensive end to replace Hutchinson. So Detroit, I think, is the class of the NFC.
Yeah, well, I actually, if you look at that um, emblem, and if that is any indication, like it has been the last couple of years, that purple could be the Ravens, right? And
Hmm.
believe it or not, that red could be the Falcons.
That's one to
I
consider.
thought it might be the Bucks, but it could be the Falcons.
Daniels
So
comes back, maybe the Commanders. Almost said Redskins.
yeah.
I
If
thought
Daniels
myself.
comes back, that red could be the Commanders. It's a weird thing. I don't like I feel like a conspiracy theorist when I talk about it, but it's like 3 years in a row. You kind of gotta put it in the back of your mind at least. Or
That's
it could
true.
be Minnesota. It could be Minnesota and KC. But hey, I think we got a lot more football to talk about before we get to that point in the season, Jeff.
Yep, very true. It is early and there's injuries still that could crop up, but right now there's clear cut favorites each side.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We'll see you next week,
All right.
rookies. Good luck.